Okay, so we're going to have a look at AWS Backup. And as you can see, I'm on the AWS Backup console on my AWS console. So the first thing that we are going to do is to create a backup plan. So as I mentioned in my last article, a backup plan is essentially a kind of a policy that lists all the settings that you'd want for your backup. So this includes things such as the frequency of your backup, backup windows and all that. So once you create a backup plan, you then assign resources, and all the resources that are assigned to a backup plan will then be backed up according to those settings that you've configured for that plan. So something to note is that you can create multiple plans. So for example, if I have resources that I want to back up daily. I have another set of resources that I want to back up weekly. I have another set of resources that I want to back up hourly. Then I can create different multiple backup plans for each of these frequencies, and then um, assign resources to each of these. So all the resources that I want to back up daily, I'll assign them to the daily backup plan. The ones that I want to back up weekly, I'll assign them to the weekly backup plan. So you have three options for creating a backup plan, and the first one is that you can use an AWS template, or alternatively you can choose to create your own plan, and you can do this using either a GUI or other, or you can choose to do this using a JSON text. So I'm going to use the second option, and let's say I want daily. So let's say this is daily backups. That will be the name of my backup plan. So the next thing, let me add a tag. Okay, so this is for daily backups. Then my backup role name, daily backup. So the next thing that we need to configure is that we always have to create, or rather your backups, the snapshots that are taken of your resources, they're always stored in a vault. So you need to specify the vault where the snapshots or the resources which will be assigned to this particular plan, those snapshots, you need to specify where they will be stored, and that place is usually a backup vault. So because I haven't created a vault for this, I'm going to call it or rather I'm going to create a new vault. So let me use the default key and create that. So yes, that's selected automatically. So as you can see, there are several the frequency at which you can take your backups, it actually varies. So it's fully dependent on your requirements. So you can take hourly backups, you can take backups every 12 hours, you can take backups daily, weekly, monthly, or if you want to take a backup outside of this window, if you want to specify something custom, then you can use a custom cron expression. So in our case, I want to use the daily backups. Rather, this role it's for daily backups, so I'm gonna choose daily. Then again, as I mentioned, so the backup plans, they take what we call automatic backups. So remember, there are three varieties. There is the on-demand backups, and we'll have a look at those in a bit. And then for the backup plans, this is what we call automatic backups. And then the other option that AWS Backup provides is for continuous backups. So continuous backups, therefore, if you want to be able to do point in time recovery, so this is where you can be able to rewind your backups up to a specific point in time. But remember, what you need to note is this only goes back for up to 35 days. Beyond 35 days, you cannot be able to recover. And in terms of the most recent data that you can recover, it's that you can recover data that was backed up to, I think it's 1 second. I could be wrong. So it's either 1 second or 1 minute. So I am not going to enable continuous backups for this. I don't need that. So the next bit that we need to specify is the backup window. So remember, or rather, you need to specify at what time you'd want these backups to be taken. So for things such as databases or other critical systems, you may find that process of creating those snapshots and exporting them, it might have a bit of an effect. And even if it doesn't, it's still best practice to do this outside of normal working hours, the same way we do with maintenance and patching. It's safer to do it outside of working hours. So this is where you specify according to the frequency that you've set, then at what point are these backups taken. So I want my backups to be taken daily, so at what time each day do I want these backups to be taken. So this is the default that is recommended by AWS. So they use UTC time, and then it could either be backed up, or rather, if I go with this option, it will be backed up at 5 a.m. Or I can choose to customize this and specify my own time. So I'll choose 1 a.m. Um, mm, let's say start within 1 hour and complete within 2 hours. I don't want to give it a very large window. Then so something that we've seen in the past, it's you'll find that someone enabled backups and they went on, and this is actually very common with EBS volumes. So the snapshots are taken so often, they accumulate and accumulate and accumulate. So at the time when you log into a client account, you find a whole list of more than 100 backups, no, 100 snapshots, and most of them very much out of date. So the way to get around this, it's fast. If you want to retain every single snapshot in the long term, then you can choose to transition some of the older snapshots to cold storage, and this will save you on cost actually. So you can choose to transition, let's say after a number of days. So maybe I want after 7 days, the snapshots that I have, I want them to be transitioned to cold storage, or after 2 weeks, after 3 months. So this is where you'd specify that. Then I would specify the number of days. Then the other thing, it's the retention period. So this is something else that will also prevent you from having that accumulation. So if you opt, or if you'd rather have these have all your snapshots uh, maintained throughout in your account, then you choose always. Not again, it will depend on your requirements. If you want them to always be there, then at the very least transition them to cold storage. But if not, most people are okay with losing some of the older backups, or rather doing away with some of the older backups. So this is where you'd specify how long do you want your backups to be retained. So it can be a number of days, a number of weeks, a number of months, a number of years. So let's say I want, for example, I only want my snapshots to be, oh, interesting. So, as you can see, they say that it must be at least 90 days after transitioning to cold storage. So I'm gonna make this rather 6 months. Yeah. So, okay, that's fine. Then the next important bit, it's remember one of the key features of AWS backups is that it allows you to copy your backups across accounts, across regions. So this is where you'd specify if you want a cross-region backup. So if I wanted these backups, and this would be probably part of our DR policy. Um, so if I wanted, let's say my DR environment, it's in a different region. For example, it's in Ireland or something. So I would copy these snapshots over to that particular region. But in this case, I don't need that for now. So note this. two things. You can assign resources to the backup plan after it has been created, and you can add more roles to this backup plan after the plan has been created. So you're not restricted to this single role. So this would be just like the initial role. If you need to alter certain settings, you can add in a role to your plan in another role. I'm not sure what the quota is there. I would need to confirm, but you can have multiple roles within your backup plan. So let's create our plan. So as you can see, it instantly brings you to the assigned resources page. So let's fill this in. I'm just going to follow our same naming convention. So this will be daily backups. Then you can choose to go with a default IAM role that is created for AWS Backup. This would allow it will allow AWS Backup to actually be able to take the snapshots from the resources that you specify. Alternatively, if you want to limit the permissions or you want to specify custom permissions, you can choose a role that you have created. But in my case, I'm happy with the default role, so I'm gonna leave it at that. Then now the very important bit is to add the resources that you want to be part of this backup plan. So you can choose to have all the resources. So all they're supported, if I choose all include all resource types, then all the resources that are supported by AWS Backup that are running within my account will be backed up according to the plan that I just created. So they'll be backed up daily at we set it at 1 a.m. UTC. So if I don't want to do that for all resources, remember I mentioned you are starting, you might have different requirements for different resources. You may have resources that you need to back up daily, you may have resources that you need to back up weekly, and you may want to have this in different backup plans, sorry. So that will be how you differentiate all that. So include then from here now you would now select all the resources that you'd want to assign to this backup plan. But the catch here is that so it's that to assign a resource to a backup plan, you need to have opted in. um so let me use an example. So let's say I choose EBS and EFS. Let me choose RDS2, right? So yeah. So you can get more granular with this. So as you can see, I chose EBS, but I can opt to not have all volumes. So if I want to granularize this a bit more, I can then go on and specify the volumes that I want to assign to this particular plan. But in my case, I'm happy with all volumes. Same thing with EFS, same thing with RDS. Then another important bit is you can choose to exclude specific resources optionally from this particular plan. So I'm happy with this. Let me assign resource. So here we go. So we have our backup plan. It's a daily backup plan. Our role within the backup plan, it's a daily backup role. Then we have, let's view this in JSON. So this is what it would look like. Okay, there's something I was looking for. Let me try something. I'm not sure where to get that error. I haven't enabled this. Ooh. Daily backups. Okay, okay, that's fine. Never mind. So we have created our backup plan, we've assigned resources to it, we've created a vault for the same. Um, okay, so let's have a look at creating an on-demand backup alternatively. So let's see, create an on-demand backup. I'm gonna go with ABS. I have no volume. All right. Okay. Give me a minute. Let me just go and create a test volume and then I'll be back. Okay, I have a volume and an instance setup. Let me mention just one more thing that I forgot to mention. So the protected resources tab, essentially what it's meant to show you, it's all the resources that are being backed up by AWS Backup. So the reason that my console is empty is because no backup job has completed as of yet. We just created our first backup plan and we've assigned resources. But remember that backup, should I leave it in, the first backup will be taken um at night today. So if I logged in tomorrow, then I will be able to find um my resources, yeah, the resources that I assigned to my daily backup, by my daily backup plan. But as of now, since there has been no backup job as of yet, so there is nothing here. So something else is that you can choose to create an on-demand backup here just to test. Let's say this tab is here, so if you want to see that this particular field populates, you can choose to create an on-demand backup. So remember, an on-demand backup, it allows you to create a backup on the go, so this will happen instantaneously. And then the other option to do this would be from the dashboard. So as you can see from the dashboard, you can also create a backup plan from here, and also you can choose to create an on-demand backup. And when this completes, you'll find that the resource will be listed here. So let's try and create an on-demand backup, and I want to do this for my EBS volume. So I have two of them. One is for an instance, so let me pick that. And then I want to create a backup now, but note that this will start within an hour, or rather I can choose to customize a backup window. um, if I want to start it within the next hour, within 2 hours, within 3 hours, within 4 hours, whatever you might want, and then have it complete, specify maybe 2 hours, maybe 5 hours. It depends on the size of the files that you're gonna be backing up. So I'm gonna leave it as the default, which is create backup create a backup now. So if I log back in about an hour and a half's time, then I should be able to see a completed backup job for this particular EBS volume. Then as always, you have to specify the vault where this will be stored. So let me just leave it at that, and then finally the I am role, then we create the on-demand backup. So this backup will start in an hour. So as you can see, it's now it's been added to the backup jobs. uh so we have this backup start by 9 at 9:21. So this is when this backup will occur, and it should complete within an hour. So other things that you can see from this console is if you've done a restore job, then it will be listed here. If you've done a copy job, this will be listed here. So this is a good way to view the backups that are actually active in your account and that are running. You can choose to create a report of these and specify you want the report for, is it the backup jobs that have occurred in the last 24 hours? Do you only want to see the backup jobs that have occurred in the last 7 days, in the last month? And of course, the other thing that you can do is to stop a backup job. So for example, if this on-demand backup that I have created, if I don't actually want this to go through, maybe I created this accidentally or I changed my mind, people do that, then I can simply stop that backup job, stop it. And so oh, it's probably because it's not done creating. But yeah, you have the ability to stop a backup job that it's in progress. So that's on the jobs tab. So we've done backup plans, protect the resources and all that. So now the next bit was, let's look at external resources. And external resources, what happens here is that AWS Backup allows you to back up resources that are running on premise. So far, what we've worked with are resources that are running within AWS, your EC2, your RDS, your Aurora, your EBS, and all that. But suppose you have some virtual machines that are running on premise and you'd want to have a backup of these machines stored on AWS. So one of the services that would allow you to do this would be AWS Backup, and you do this by using what we call the AWS Backup Gateway. So this is where you'd come in um, and configure this particular, yeah, configure that connection to your on-prem servers. So you need to first of all create a gateway, and the way you do this is to take this template. So something to note is that unfortunately at the moment, AWS Backup only supports VMware. So yeah, it only supports VMware virtual machines. So if that's the environment that you're running on-prem, then you would need to download this template, set it up on your VMware machines, then you fill in then once you have that set up, then you'll come in and add in the address of your vSphere clients. Then give the gateway a name, specify the kind of endpoint that you want, whether it's public and internet endpoint, or you want to make it private. Then you'd create that gateway. So once you've created your gateway, then the next step would be to set up the hypervisor. So you'd have set up a hypervisor, add the name, add the IP address of your vCenter host, the username and the password for logging into that particular host. Oof. Um, then you can opt to actually, yeah. Um, Specify the KMS keys to be encrypting your backups as they move between, or rather as the backups are sent over from your on-premise servers to AWS Backup. So it's definitely a security best practice to have those encrypted, because they'll, especially if your gateway is public, then it will be best to have those encrypted just to secure the data that is gonna be captured. And then from here, now you specify the gateway that you just created in the previous step. So if you didn't create a gateway, as you can see, you can optionally just create that from here. Add tag if you want to. Then set up login if you want to set up login. Oh, okay. So login for this particular backup job will then be sent to CloudWatch log. You'd need to create a log group for that if you opt into this. That is if you have an existing one, or you can choose to not have login set up for this. Interesting. Okay, so that's the bit for support, AWS backup support for backing up on-premise servers. And remember again, this is only for VMware at the moment. Actually, you can see it's even mentioned AWS Backup only supports VMware hypervisors. Okay, so next let's have a look at backup, the audit manager. So I haven't worked with the audit manager in the past, but from what I understand, the audit manager, it's meant to allow you to set up a set of controls that your backup plans, your backup policies will be checked against, and to see if they are compliant. So for example, if your organization has in place certain standards for this is how our backups should be occurring, and this is the frequency, this is how long these snapshots should be retained, then you can set that up here to make sure that any plans that are set up, any policies that are set up, they are actually in line with that, and then it would yeah, your compliance would be checked against the frameworks that you specified. So let's just have a look at it. Let me see. If I had a company, what would I call it? Um, Let me just follow a convention. Daily. Let me just call it daily framework, because why not? Uh, let's set that. So what I want us to have a look at, it's the controls themselves. I think this is the important bit. So as you can see, for resources that are protected by a backup plan, evaluate if the resources are protected by a backup plan, and then choose resources to evaluate. You can specify this by type or by a tag or a single resource. This would be exhausting. Let's go resources by type. So then you specify all the resources that you want to be checked. So what this will check is all the resources that you specify here. Are they part of a backup plan? So if they are not assigned to a backup plan, then that means you're not compliant. Then let's see, on the frequency and retention, it evaluates if backups are created at least every day and retains them for at least a month. So I think you can change this. Should be able, at least every hour. And oh, this is interesting. And you can also opt out of it. Okay. So let's say I want to make sure that the frequency is at least maybe no, the frequency of 7 days, and I want them to be retained for at least 1 year. And then I want this to be evaluated for either all my backup plans. You can refine that using tags, or for specify a single backup plan. Okay, I think this would, if for example you went with by a way of creating multiple plans based on different frequencies, and I think you would choose the single backup plan over here, and then possibly create another framework for to check your other plans. Let's see what else is evaluated. Vaults, preventing manual deletion of recovery points, encryption of recovery points, minimum retention period, cross-region backup copies, cross-account copies, backup vaults, last recovery point. So as you can see, you can opt, so these are the default settings, so you can opt to specify your own controls depending on your compliance need. And then if for example, if as is the case with most organizations, if there's a number of people who are working within the account and you want to make sure that everything that is created meets a certain set of rules, this would be the way to do that. And so once you create your framework, I think there was a reporting option of some awesome, then you create a report that would show you essentially your compliance based on the controls that you have set up. So it's neat little feature. So let's see. Now the last bit is on cross account monitoring. So remember, AWS Backup supports both cross region and cross account backups. So if you're part of an organization, or you want to do, yeah, if you're part of an organization and you'd want to create a backup job for a different account. So remember, one of the key benefits of having an organization in place is to centralize your management. Sorry. So I'd imagine if this was, if I had an organization in place, or rather if I was managing multiple accounts and this was my management account, so I would configure my policies from within a central account, my backup policies from within a central account, and I would want to also be able to monitor my jobs from within a central account. But remember, these jobs are going to be occurring from multiple accounts, but again, depending on how many accounts you're running, but these jobs will be occurring on resources that are within other accounts. So then you can be able to monitor all the jobs that are running from within this single console, which makes your job a whole lot easier rather than having to log into multiple accounts individually and setting up backups there and setting up backups there. So yeah, so that's basically AWS Backup in a nutshell. Tune in for the next one.